du soleil, pas de soleil, pas de soleil, la-la-la. Pas de soleil, pas de soleil, pas de soleil, la-la-la.
Hey! In today's video, I'm going to give you the basic rundown of how to stream art on YouTube, Twitch, or really any streaming platform. I'm going to start off with the basic tools you'll need, then go into some stream setups, and finally finish off with some tips that I learned. Also, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to be referring to Twitch as a streaming platform, but all of this information can be used for whichever streaming platform you want to use. Just have to tweak it a little bit. All right, let's get started. So before I dive right into all the information, I just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Sasha and I go by Syertse on the internet. I do lots of art and I started streaming in August of 2017, although I wasn't really consistent with it for another couple of years or so. Throughout that time, I have been streaming art consistently with a few variations of games in between, and through lots of perseverance and luck, I became a Twitch partner in July of 2020. Now that you know a little bit about me, we can get started on the first thing, which is gear. The very first thing you'll need is a PC that can handle streaming. I know it sounds a little silly to bring this up, but it is absolutely necessary. Not every computer can handle it, so you need something that's strong enough to run Photoshop while also streaming and doing a lot of other stuff in the background. There's a ton of videos on building PCs and different price brackets that might help. I'm going to go into this thinking that you already have a computer that can handle streaming. So the next thing you'll need is a webcam and a microphone. So the webcam is optional. I bring it up because some people don't even use webcams in their streams, but some people love to use them. So it's really up to you what you want to do. The microphone, I think, is the most important. It needs to be at least decent quality. It doesn't have to be super crazy expensive, but just tolerable, I think, is the right word, because you can watch a ton of streams without a webcam at all and it's no big deal, but if the audio quality is bad, it can be very, very unbearable. The shots in my life. And a lot of people will just run away from that. So I definitely recommend looking into a few microphones that are within your price range. They don't have to be anything crazy again, but just something that sounds decent. For reference, I use a C920 HD Pro webcam and a Snowball Ice microphone with a pop filter and an arm that I mounted on. As a side note, if you do go for using a webcam, getting a ring light or two will do wonders. Smaller ones go for around $20 on Amazon, can make even a simple webcam look great with the right lighting and settings. Here's a side-by-side comparison of my ring lights on and off. Now let's get into the drawing tools. So if you're a digital artist, you probably already have a tablet of some sort that you're using, so you're good to go. If you're a traditional artist, you'll need a few more steps, so something like a camera or a webcam to show what you're drawing, but also some kind of overhead mount contraption to show it in a good view where it's not in the space of your hands and the stuff that you're doing. You have a few options with this. You can go for an arm, a tripod, or an overhead camera mount, kind of like a horizontal camera mount, depending on what you have the space for. The biggest issue that I find with creating those kind of things is that you don't realize how little space you have for whatever you need until you put it down and you're like, oh, I don't have room for this, or the wire doesn't reach my PC. So you have to be kind of crafty in the way of putting it together and making sure it works for your setup. So I would take a look at the different options and seeing what fits in your desk space and what you think would look good in it. So another important thing with a traditional artist is that you guys are going to need good, consistent lighting. So the lighting from a window is great during the day, but you'll need something that's consistent no matter what the weather is and what the time of day is. So I recommend ring lights as the best option just because they are big. They can change different colors, so you can have a white light, a yellow light, or a blue light. And usually a lot of the ring lights also come with different meters, so like a dim brightness or a middle brightness or the brightest brightness. So you can kind of mess around with them and see what works best for you. So now that you have your streaming gear already and good to go, you'll need some sort of software to stream from your computer to Twitch or YouTube or whatever you use. So I use OBS. OBS is a great program. It lets you do lots of things like change scenes. It gives you different filters and audio level settings. So you can mess around with all of those to make your stream what you want it to be. It's a little bit overwhelming at first to look at, but I'm gonna run you guys through the super simple process of making a couple of scenes just to get you started with streaming. As a base, you'll want to have at least 2 streaming scenes. So one is to get you started, and the other is your main streaming scene that most people will see when you're live. The first is fairly simple. You can add in graphics that you would like to appear when you're just getting started. This will give people time to jump into your stream while you do any last-minute things like posting that you're live on Twitter or grabbing your cup of tea. The other scene is a bit more complicated, as this is your main streaming scene. You want your art to be the focus, and if you have a webcam, to have that in a place that's not covering up anything too important. So when you open up OBS, you'll see this basic screen, and on the left-hand side, you'll see the scenes area. And these are all the scenes that you can switch between when you're live. So I have a bunch here. Some I use pretty often, like the streaming soon, I use all the way in the beginning. And then the drawing stream is what I'm usually in, but I have a bunch more that I can switch between if I would so choose to. Next to the scenes is the sources area, and that's just going to display what sources you have in each scene. So in my basic scene right now, you can see I have my display capture, so you can see my screen, my microphone, and my monitor. And for some reason I have two microphones. We don't talk about that. You'll probably want to add different sources depending on what scene you have. So for something like a streaming soon screen, you might want to add something like an image or an image slideshow to kind of filter through and show on the screen as you're starting. And for something like a drawing stream setup, you'll probably want to add display capture if you have a screen tablet of some sort, or maybe just a second monitor that you're using. You can also add audio inputs so that you have your voice heard. Also, if you ever want to edit anything, you can just double click on the area and it'll pull up with the properties once again. So if for some reason it's not working, you don't have to add it and delete it again. You can just double click and edit that. So next to the sources, there will be the audio mixer. You'll have to keep that in mind, especially in your streaming soon area. Usually I mute my mic when I just begin, so you can hit this little button here, and that's just gonna mute your mic. You can also edit the loudness of it with this bar right here, and same with desktop audio. Sometimes you'll notice that when you're playing audio from your desktop, some videos might be a little louder, some might be a little quieter. If you're using Spotify, that might change too. So you can always edit it with this bar as well, so you can hear the difference. Just make sure that the desktop audio does not overpower your voice, and you can usually tell by how far the green goes. And if your voice is a little bit lower than that, then usually the audio is a bit too loud. So to the right of that, you have scene transitions. Right now I have it cut, but I have a special one that is mine right here. That just says Syertse that I got. But you can switch between them. Fade is a good one. It's a little bit softer, so it's not as sharp of a cut. Just so it can fade into different scenes when you're clicking them on the left-hand side. And then to the right of that, you'll see all of the little controls, so you can start streaming, you can record and stop recording, and then studio mode is useful, but I think that's to get into a little bit more later, and all of that fun stuff. So you can mess around with these. Usually start streaming and start recording are the ones that I use the most. And there you have it, a super bare bones version of how to stream art. But let's get into the tips now. So my first tip is to record before you go live. And what I mean by that is that before you actually hit the start streaming button, I recommend you first hit the record button and do a few things on the stream just to make sure that everything's working properly. So maybe switch scenes, talk into the microphone, move around in the webcam, stuff like that, just to see, and then look at the recording again and see that everything's going okay. Because in my personal experience, I think it's a lot harder to troubleshoot when you're live than when you're in the comfort of your home, just chilling and hanging out. So I definitely think that you should troubleshoot a lot of these issues before you go live. So my next tip is to prep your art before you go live. Sometimes it's hard to sketch on stream. It's a little bit harder because I feel like sketching takes a lot of brain power. You're constantly thinking about what you're trying to draw, the composition, values, possible color that you'll add to it, all that fun stuff, and it's kind of hard to focus on that while also focusing on your stream. So I would say that if you feel comfortable in something like, say, line art or coloring, that maybe you can start the art off stream and then stream the part that's a little bit more comfortable for you, at least until you're getting a little bit more comfortable with streaming in general. Although if you feel like sketching is good for you, if you feel like you're really good at that and you want to show it off, by all means, please do it. It's really a great thing to watch. I feel like a lot of people like watching sketching on stream because it's like building something from nothing is really exciting, and sketching process in general is kind of fast and like chaotic, so it's really fun for viewers to watch that as well. Another tip that I have is to have a rough idea of what kind of stream you want to create. So you don't have to know everything, obviously, you're not sure yourself, but say maybe you really like talking with the community, maybe you can be a little bit more chatty on stream, and you can start by talking about your art and then kind of continue on to just chatting with the viewers about their day and stuff like that. Or say if you want to just get a lot of work done on stream and maybe you just want to even barely use the microphone, you can just have people watch your stream and enjoy your art and then occasionally talk to them about stuff that you're working on. So you can choose which way you want to go, and I think it's just beneficial as you're growing your stream to know kind of where you want to head with it. And my last tip is to join the community. So there's a lot of streaming peers around us that can be super inspirational and super awesome to watch. And if you have the time and if you're interested, I definitely recommend checking them out. So you can join into events that they may be hosting, just learn more about the platform. And if you really like them, you can join the Discord, become a part of their community in that way. So it's really up to you what you want to do, but I guarantee it'll help you in the long run. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer in the comments. Alternatively, you can also ask me questions live on my Twitch. So I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time until about 11 or 12, depending on how I'm feeling. So if you want to pop in during those times and ask me questions, be like, hey, what did you mean about this thing? Or could you elaborate more on this? And I'll be happy to answer you live on there as well. Also, if you like my work and want to check it out, you can check out my social media here. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!